What is up guys, Sharpwind here, and today I have a very special guest in the video. I am going to talk to the lead developer of Mine Imator. Yes, I'm going to talk straight to Nimi. I'm gonna ask him a few questions about Mine Imator, what kind of updates he's planning, what can we expect in the future. Okay, those last two are the same thing. Basically, we're going to get a few insights on the whole thing. I'm gonna ask him a few personal questions and a few technical ones to see where we are, to get on track, to see how he feels about the needs of the community, and basically the overall look at the program. So let's skip the stuff I usually do and let's get straight to the interview, because this is not about my channel, this is about Mine Imator and its community. Put on my headset and we're gonna give Nimi a call. If he could pick up, that would be nice. Hey.
Hello.
There you are. Alright, so Nimi, first I want to ask you about your age and position. So, how old are you? What do you do?
Right now I am currently 18 and in college actually. I currently don't really have a job. Right now I just work on Mine Imator and Model Bench.
Okay, let's move on to the next one. What is your relation to David? Like, how did you two met and how did you become a developer on Mine Imator?
Oh boy, that's kind of a long story.
A trip down memory lane. I have all the time you need.
Okay, so you want to start from the very beginning?
Just a brief explanation.
I don't know if this can be brief, but I'll try my best.
Go on.
So, well, I'd probably consider him as a friend, programming buddy in most projects, which would probably all but include just Mine Imator and Model Bench.
Yeah.
So how did I become a developer?
Or how did you meet him in general?
Forums.
Forums.
How did I become a developer?
Yeah.
Right. Back when it was still just Mine Imator 105, I was interested in programming. I didn't know much about Game Maker, but he released the source code for Mine Imator on a GitHub page. And I actually started making mods, like, you know, the photography mod, the improved foliage mod. Yeah, eventually I'd go on to make the community build with David and also help from another former. I'm not sure if the name is correctly, but Emunator. As I was working on this really massive update for the community build with a new interface, features, and whatnot. Mine Imator was still stuck on 1.06. People thought, you know, Mine Imator was dead. It was never going to get another update, and people were just moving on to the community build. David was actually in this beta server that I had for the community build, and then one day he announced to me that was just in the whole server that he was actually going to make another update.
And I'm guessing he needed your help or something.
In one way or another, he didn't want to remake all the models from scratch, because that would have been a pain to write all the JSON. So eventually I kind of stepped in and said I can help make a modeler, eventually become Model Bench.
Do you mind if I ask, how long have you been a Mine Imator developer in general, and how long have you been a lead developer for?
So I think a general developer would probably begin in, I think probably March 2017.
Okay.
And then a lead developer probably once 1.2 launched. After 1.21, David threw in the towel. He's done with Mine Imator. I'm the only and lead developer of Mine Imator.
Okay, so you just answered two of my questions. I was gonna ask if there are any other developers. Why do you develop Mine Imator? Do you like it? And what are the traits that you like about it?
I like the programming part of being a developer. Running a community and whatnot I kind of think is too much for myself, because it's not something I kind of looked forward to doing. I never really looked at the whole running of a community part of it.
So basically tackling challenges and obstacles in developing. Messing with the code is what entertains you.
Basically, kind of, yeah.
So
Okay.
Nimi, what do you think about, how do you feel about Mine Imator's bad reputation? We can agree there's a whole lot of low-effort animations which become very popular and even admired, and that's why people think bad of Mine Imator. What do you feel about the...
Well, I think the bad reputation kind of goes beyond the bad animation, because I think it also has a bad reputation because it is an easy-to-use program.
Yeah, but that's not necessarily bad.
That's actually the source, I believe, what causes these low-effort animations, because people don't expect themselves to do too much with the program.
So
now,
yeah, no, go ahead.
I was actually going to wait for you to talk.
Oh yeah. So how would you tackle that issue, like the bad opinion thing?
I don't think it can really be tackled at all. I don't see it too much of an issue either, but the only way I see any sort of solution to fix this is to make an update that makes Mine Imator more harder to use for users.
Now we are moving on to the interesting part, as I would say, the technical stuff and stuff Mine Imator related. First of all, and this is urgent to me personally, what can you tell me about bending? even more about bending extrusions. When is it going to get fixed, if ever?
Well, right now I think it's riding on Model Bench's full release, since that's what I'm testing it out in. Based on whenever Model Bench's full release comes out is when it'll come to Mine Imator as well. So either an update shortly before or after Model Bench fully releases.
So you're saying there's going to be a way to have bendable extrusions working in Mine Imator?
Yeah, 3D surfaces bending correctly with cubes and planes.
I would kiss you if I was there. Like, I really need this.
Because there is actually a bug.
No homo.
That was with 3D surfaces, and I actually fixed it in Model Bench. Now, however, there is actually going to be a change coming to bending.
Altogether?
It's not going to... not really. It's actually going to be more of a visual change.
Okay, guys. New update. You know where to get it. Tell me more about it.
3D planes are more detailed in terms of how many vertices, triangles, and whatnot it has. When I was actually in the middle of doing testing, I actually ran into an issue that I had with other shapes. Cubes and planes have a setting for detail to determine how detailed the bending should be. However, when the setting is set kind of high, it creates bulging. So when it gets to the bending, it bulges in whichever direction. I applied an easing to it to make it a lot more tolerable. You can actually use it in animations and whatnot. So this won't affect arms, but this will
affect the body.
It will affect the body because it has a higher bench size.
What about lighting? Like, have you ever thought of making lights that could burn through the camera, make an entire area white? The ones that act like actual lights. I'll put a bunch of reference images on screen for you guys to understand what I mean, because I'm not good with words today.
I'm hoping these images actually sync up with what I'm about to say.
Same.
When I was brainstorming for 1.2, I was actually planning on adding different lighting types. PBR, physically based rendering, I actually thought about adding that and looked into it quite a bit, as well as HDR. Very quickly I realized GameMaker cannot support HDR. It kind of threw a wrench in my plans. Now people have actually managed to add a physically based rendering in GameMaker, however I haven't really seen any solutions with casted shadows, which is the main obstacle here, is getting physically based rendering to work with shadows with a limited light count. So because we can't really have HDR, as in like, you know, having like a strength option and being able to pump the color super high beyond even white, to have each light being able to be super bright and burn through colors and whatnot, so it's brighter than the diffuse. I've actually been experimenting with the camera that can make lighting stronger in the entire scene, since we can't do it with individual lights.
So there is improvement planned, but depends on how it will work.
Yeah, currently it looks fine because I've been messing around with it in this separate test program. Still has to go through some more testing.
I mean, you still are one person working on a program. That's still something to respect. Okay, what about the new glow feature? Some people have been complaining about the glitching going on, and therethere's apparently nothing you could do with the render depth to fix it.
The only thing I've seen in terms of glitches for glow is just the alpha with it.
I mean, yeah, we're talking about my volumetric lighting tutorial.
I believe that's intentional. Let me check the bug fixes actually, because I know having transparent objects glow actually caused an issue.
Only render glow doesn't really break for me. But there is some funny behavior at the top, like when two faces meet. No, that's just a blend mode.
Okay, looks like it's not really in here, but I do know I fixed it for one reason or another.
The next question I want to move on to is the render depth itself, the one I mentioned before. It doesn't seem to have any effect when it comes to glitches with fog, depth of field, or other things.
Well, I know why the issue is caused. Fixing it isn't that easy, however. Mainly because fog and depth of field actually use something called a depth pass. This is to basically get a distance variable per pixel on what's on the screen. So when you have a semi-transparent block like water or stained glass, when it does that depth pass to determine how far away it is from the camera, it's actually fully opaque.
Okay, I want to ask you more about the fog. So the fog is pretty basic, it's pretty linear, not much variations. It's basically a transition from nothing to a certain color, the one you set yourself in the custom fog settings. Have you ever thought about making it look more volumetric, adding more inconsistencies to it, make some areas more dense and undense, and have some animation evolution that would randomly play out, so to keep it more fog-like?
I haven't really thought about it as of recently, nor for actually a while, or even at all.
What about now?
Hey, what about now? Well, now that you mentioned it, I have looked into it ever since you've mentioned it. I don't know how exactly that would play out in the current system, since that does require a volumetric method, I think.
How is the current one applied then? Just curious.
Current one, it basically gets a depth map, and based on that depth,
yeah. A lot of people find Mine Imator basic, and when people ask you about it, you usually say it's a thing of the render engine. So, since the render engine can be such a limitation, have you ever thought about replacing it?
Well, I don't recall saying many things are a limitation of the game engine.
A lot of times the answer was the game maker cannot support this.
Well, it can't support more technical things. Well, it is a 2D game engine, but most things that are done in Mine Imator are done manually by David or I, because David actually programmed the ambient occlusion, shadows, depth of field. Those are all done by him. GameMaker doesn't natively support any of that, and I also coded the glow color correction vignette. These are all done through shaders, which are pretty powerful.
So there might be smart solutions to set limitations.
To get rid of limitations?
I mean, yeah, you found out basically another way to code stuff in which is not supported, but you found your way around it. So you're basically saying there are possible ways to fix said things, we just need to discover them, and you're not going to change the game engine.
Doing things manually can actually be pretty hard.
But it's exciting.
Like, okay. Like HDR, okay? I've actually looked into that. I was trying to make a selection, I guess. It didn't really turn out too hot. Performance was terrible. I've actually tried to suggest it on the forums for GameMaker. It doesn't look like it's really something they're gonna look into. So I think we're kind of stuck with the current. I don't really have any plans for changing the game engine because Mine Imator is
basic.
Is a really big program. There are a lot of aspects that I think some people take for granted, like it can load block files, it can load schematics. I think most people really just care about the rendering side of it, but there's a lot more going under the hood that people don't really take for granted. And if we switch the engine or language, it would require a lot of work to be done because Mine Imator has accumulated years of coding.
But do you think that Mine Imator will ever achieve such graphics such as shaders or some very advanced video game? I'm asking because I found this question in the community.
Well, Mine Imator actually does use shaders internally for certain effects.
I meant, you know what I mean.
External shaders.
I meant like something
mod.
From Shaders the mod from Minecraft.
Well, the mod just loads mod packs that people make. They can vary in style based on who made it. I have gotten some inspiration. Some of the shaders mods, like the foliage light bleeding, that actually was inspired from some shaders. So like being able to leaves and foliage have light going right through them.
Like, you think that was a decent amount of questions?
I think so.
Okay, but I have one final question for you. Where do you see Mine Imator in 10 years? What are your plans? What are you willing to add? Any plans which are closer to our timeline? Not exactly 10 years, but what are your plans? Where do you see Mine Imator in the future?
I can only really see it in like a year. Well, I know that it's going to be a much different program than it is today. Not, drastically like it's going to be Blender in like a year.
Yeah, but where do you see it?
As an overall program, popularity and whatnot?
Yeah, or as in features, or community, or anything that comes to mind.
Well, as I'm seeing it right now, the community is kind of getting smaller. People are moving on to other softwares.
But that's why you have me. Sorry, self-promotion. Keep up. Keep going.
I do encourage people to move on to other programs like Blender, Cinema 4D. That's where they probably should go if they're going into animation. I wouldn't want them to stay behind and keep using Mine Imator. But if Mine Imator is a convenience, like making books and whatnot, you're gonna want something that renders fast.
I mean, it's still very useful. Like, if you want to make a Minecraft animation, you're not going to use Maya if Mine Imator already has a set of awesome tools that can help you do it much easier.
Yeah, that's why I encourage fast programs for if you're trying to do something kind of fast. Illustrating the whole book is going to take forever, and David actually did use Mine Imator for illustrating some books.
Oh. That's very nice. Okay, Nimi, thank you for your time. I will be sure to edit this footage and cut out the parts we do not want in it. But that is it.
If you have any more questions, you can ask them now real quick.
Yeah, I know, that's the point. That's my point. Like, the community probably wants to know stuff, but I don't really know.
Maybe a follow-up video.
Follow-up video. Maybe. Suggest it in the comments, I guess. But Nimi, thank you for your time. I will be sure to spread the word.
This has been an interview with the Nimi, and I'll see you in the next one or something.
Yeah, I guess. Stay sharp. I am not good at goodbyes. But yeah, this is where Mine Imator is headed. These were the words straight from the developer. I'm not sure exactly how much I'm going to cut stuff out on or how much I'm going to leave in, but you heard it firsthand. I think Mine Imator is in for a few very awesome updates. So I personally am gonna keep track and I'm gonna keep you posted with new tutorials. So thank you for watching and stay sharp.